saving more money than you're ultimately going to make in terms of revenue.
Right.
Yeah, and maybe, in a couple of years I can look at the Form 990s and figure that information out. Hopefully I'll know before then, but yeah.
Yeah,
that's interesting. But yeah, this past week, they really saw this event as Groceryland's big comeback. Every year, Sidetrack, which was founded by Art Johnston, he's a longtime LGBT gay activist here in Chicago. Every year they hold their anniversary party during June, which is when they were founded. And lately it's just been a pride party, but it celebrates their anniversary. And they incorporate this fundraiser with it. Since the 90s, they've always had a donation drive for Heartland Alliance where people can bring toiletries and household items, things that aren't covered by food stamps, that Groceryland can give out to its clients. So this year's fundraiser at the celebration was extra meaningful to Lori because she really saw it as the revival of this organization. Oh. And what better partner to help them with this than Sidetrack, who's been a supporter of Groceryland since its beginning.
Wow. Talk to us about the need that we still have for these organizations, because I think when you have, particularly, maybe let's say some centrist liberals who are seeing all the cuts, to HIV research, and they maybe, now you see all the commercials for PrEP, and you're like, oh, yeah, everything's solved, right? Talk to us about the need that we still have within the community for organizations like Groceryland.
Yeah, I mean, it's so high still, and people are low income right now. We're in a recession, whether or not people want to recognize it. And if you look at barriers to PrEP and HIV prevention, there's communities in Chicago that are still disproportionately affected. Black and brown communities, we're still seeing much higher rates of HIV in there. And then there's all these threats to PrEP access thanks to what's happening at the federal government. So I think the need is still there. We're still in this perfect storm where the HIV is not gone, and we still have a lot of work to do to get to zero. And it's holistic. It's not just treating HIV. We need to make sure people have housing. We need to make sure they have employment and all kinds of supports, wraparound supports, because all those issues create barriers to HIV prevention.
This is that weird thing of where we had so much over how many years now? 40 years, 35 years of building up all of this support, and you get all this funding, but when it's in committees and you got all the, it sort of disappears from the public view because you're just sort of making all this happen. You're getting the grants, you're getting the, the policies and the legislation and all of that going on. And I think for a lot of folks that maybe they're like, well, I don't see all the deaths on the evening news anymore.
Right.
And all of that they don't realize that we weren't going to have a vaccine tomorrow, but there was really important research that was happening federally that was working towards that. That's now going to be gutted, and we're going to be set back 25 years because of that. And when we almost lose an organization like Groceryland, I think a lot of folks might be like, wait, well, why does it even matter anymore?
Right.
So to whomever this donor is, thank you.
Yeah, and, food pantries need is up across the board, HIV or not, and people want to go to a food pantry where they feel culturally affirmed. And that's what Groceryland is for people with HIV. It might be scary to go to, if you're queer or you're living with HIV, to go to a regular food pantry. It might be uncomfortable at some moments, and you don't face that at Groceryland.
The publication is Windy City Times. Jake Wittig, we'll see you back here in a couple weeks. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Go to windycitytimes.com/newsletters to sign up for the publication's weekly LGBTQ news updates. Up next on WCPT 820, it's Chew's Views with Richard Chew on AM 950. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Stay tuned after that for Native Roots Radio. Connect with us on Blue Sky. We're at thegaileyshow.org on Blue Sky. And until tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.
If you want your children to read, remember, the special ingredient is you. Spend time with your family, building bonds through reading. Those stories, those memories will last forever.
This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
How is your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then, someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
When I first had my baby, I'd get comments all the time about how happy I must be. I remember thinking, I want to be happy. Why don't I feel that way? It was hard to admit that, even to my doctor. But I'm glad I did. She told me it was postpartum depression, and that is very treatable. These days, things are feeling good, and we're both happier about that. Right, little man? I'll take that as a yes.
Mental health care is working for Simone. See what it can do for you at mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
You're listening to WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk station, where facts matter and truth always wins. Stay informed, stay engaged.
AP News, I'm Haya Panjwani. Israel's defense minister overtly threatened Iran's supreme leader after the latest missile barrage from Iran damaged a major hospital and hit a high-rise and several other residential buildings near Tel Aviv. AP Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports President Trump says he's prepared to take action against Iran if necessary.
President Trump says he has not decided on striking Iran, but suggests he's ready to act.
If it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do.
Highlighting that red line versus his campaign pledge of not getting the U.S. into another war. The president says it's not too late for Iran to give up its nuclear program and says Iranian officials have offered to come to the White House for talks. Tehran's UN mission says that's a lie. The U.S. has now started evacuating non-essential diplomats from its Israeli embassy as the conflict grows. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
A Massachusetts jury found Karen Reed not guilty of second-degree murder and manslaughter. Reed was accused of killing her boyfriend, a Boston police officer, in 2022. Reed addressed a large group of supporters yesterday after the jury found her not guilty.
I could not be standing here without these amazing supporters who have supported me and my team financially and, more importantly, emotionally for almost 4 years. And the second thing I want to say is no one has fought harder for justice for John O'Keefe than I have and my team.
The U.S. State Department says it's restarting the suspended process for foreigners applying for student visas, but all applicants will now be required to unlock their social media accounts for government review. This is AP News. AP correspondent Julie Walker reports on a duck farm rebuilding after a bird flu outbreak.
Long Island's last commercial duck farm rebuilding after a bird flu outbreak forced the destruction of its entire 100,000 bird flock in January. Crescent Duck Farm owner Doug Corwin.
It was a devastating, emotional thing.
Plus, he had to lay off staff.
Most of my people have been with me 10, 20, 30 years.
First wave of more than 900 young ducks arrived at the end of May. More continue to come. But he's pushing for change so he doesn't have to go through another outbreak.
I'm arguing very hard that the United States needs to change its policy on vaccinations. There are many vaccines that work for this. We're just not allowed to use them.
Long Island was once a center of U.S. duck production with more than 100 farms. Julie Walker, New York.
I'm Haya Panjwani, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A few spotty rain showers and storms early today, then possibly redeveloping late. Otherwise, a blend of clouds and sunshine develops, a high in the mid-80s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, we'll have partly cloudy skies, a low near 66. By Friday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms. Blend of clouds and sunshine develops, high of 84. Saturday, sunny, a high of 94. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 66.
Progressive knows road trips without your pet can be tough.
Hi, this is Next Stop Dog Boarding.
Hi, it's Scott again. How's Squeaks doing? You can tell if he's stressed by his eyebrows. Oh, and his breathing should sound like this.
Scott, Squeaks is exactly the same as last time you called.
Okay, let's talk in 20 to see if anything's changed.
With Progressive, your pet is covered up to $1,000 in vet bills in case of a car accident. So next time, you can take your pet with you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Coverage for dogs and cats is included with the purchase of collision coverage and subject to policy terms. Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Thursday morning, progressives, and welcome to the Juneteenth. There you go. June 19th, 2025 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. We're going to talk a little bit about Juneteenth in a moment. But catch us on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube, as well as iHeartRadio. You can email me, as always, at richard@wcpt820.com. And I admit I'm a little bit behind on replying to some of the emails, so don't get upset. Don't send me that hate email. Chew, where have you been? I'm here. I just got to nail down a few, so don't worry, guys. I'll get some replies back to many of you who've asked for certain things and so forth. So there you go. As you know, you can catch me on Substack. Try to get a post in there every week or so. And then all of our shows, you can catch them how? By subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcast or Spotify. That's where you can get Choose Views, the short version and long versions of our interviews and segments that we do here. That's a reminder about our featured episodes and our full episodes and featured interviews. As well as, yes, Joan Esposito, Live, Local, and Progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and, of course, our other shows that are there. And you can make your way over to heartlandsignal.com, which is our digital platform, and we have quite a an arsenal of information there that we want you guys to be able to appreciate and share with those who like I've said before, you're talking to someone and they'll say, how'd you find that out? Where'd you get that from? I got it at Heartland Signal. What's that? heartlandsignal.com. It's the digital platform that's partners with WCPT. And part of, making it better for the folks that are out there wanting to know where I got it from. You mean you didn't make it up in a lab like the GOP and MAGA does, and suddenly they just come up with crazy stuff? No, I got it at Heartland Signal digital platform. Of course, that's me having a conversation with my other me. So make your way over there, guys, and see what's in store. But for the moment, check this out, progressives.
Come on. Is this really leadership? You're an embarrassment to the United States. If Russia invades NATO allies, are you going to recommend to the president that we fulfill our Article 5 obligations?
Well, Russia has not invaded NATO allies.
No.
President Trump.
No. I reclaim my time. Yes or no? It's that simple.
There's Article 5 in NATO, which we recognize.
So is the answer yes or no?
That's what Article 5 is, yes.
Good. I'm glad you brought yourself to saying yes. Do you think political allegiance to Trump is a requirement for serving our nation, either in uniform or a civilian in the department?
I'm incredibly proud, as are millions of Americans.
No. Not today, Hegseth. Yes or no?
Congressman, you know what a silly question that is.
But silly enough to warrant a very straightforward answer. Yes or no?
We all support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
You know what? I'm not going to waste my time anymore. You're not worthy of my attention or my questions. You're an embarrassment to this country. You're unfit to lead. And there's been bipartisan members of Congress that have called for your resignation. You should just get the hell out and let somebody competently lead this department.
Mr. Chairman, do we not have any decorum in here?
Thank you very much. I yield my time.
Gentleman yields back. And I would urge everybody to remember and maintain a decorum suitable for this chamber with their further comments. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Tennessee, Dr. Desjardins.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would like to thank you, Secretary Hegseth and General.
No. See, okay, first of all, that was Representative Carbajal, who was giving the business to Pete Hegseth. And that's how it should be done. No questions asked. Simple question, yes or no. And if they don't answer the question, stop them in their tracks. Talk over them if you have to. That is the way it has to be done. And I know that there are people who are talking and have said, the Democrats aren't doing anything. They aren't fighting hard enough. Well, Representative Carbajal is fighting hard, and he understands what it's like to be in uniform. He understands what it's like to make a point that we can't sit back and let these incompetent, unqualified folks be in those seats without being challenged. And there's more that we will have for you in the show today from another veteran who is serving in Congress, and that's Senator Tammy Duckworth. That is what has to happen. And I'm happy to have a representative who's willing to speak like that and not let them off the hook and be willing to, you know, the chairman of the committee wanted to go down the path of decorum. See, here's the problem. Decorum is out the window right now. And it's out the window just by virtue of the fact that the Republicans who are part of the Trump administration, the people that are part of the administration, this is where you got to understand there's got to be a redefinition of what decorum is. And we played this clip yesterday about what tolerance is. We have to be done tolerating their garbage. We have to also be done leaning into this sort of fake decorum, because if you come to a committee hearing and you can't answer the questions, or you choose not to answer the questions, that right there to me is a breach of decorum. It isn't how if a Democratic congressional member of that congressional hearing is loud and proud and forceful, that's not lacking in decorum. Lacking in decorum is not answering the questions. Playing the game, Henry, tap dancing around. Linda McMahon did the same thing day before yesterday, and she in a very haughty, arrogant, privileged way, she actually, and this is what cracked me up. She kind of, even though the whatever hairspray she uses kept her hair in place, she actually kind of tilted her head as if to say she was sort of fanning her hair, and said, "I refuse to answer that question." And I lit her up on social media in whatever way I can. Answer the question. Show up and answer the doggone questions. And Republicans have consistently done that, whether the Democrats were in the House leadership or not. Answer the question or get the hell out. I'm that representative pretty close to, all but said that. You need to get out. And that needs to be, as they wrap up their questioning, with any of the Republicans in any part of the administration, I don't care who it is, secretary of this, secretary of that. If the Republican members and that are part of the folks that are part of the Republican administration currently won't answer the questions, then the last thing that every Democratic member of a committee should say is, you need to get the hell out. If you won't answer the questions from this committee, from us, the Democratic part of this committee, then you need to get the hell out. You aren't qualified to be in the role. I'd love to see that be the button-up statement every time there is a hearing and a Democratic representative doesn't get his or her questions answered. I think it will set a tone, and it will be something that those who are saying Dems are not fighting will be able to see, because you do it enough times and it becomes a regular thing, at least in my opinion. I could be wrong there, but I do see evidence of that being part of where the Democratic elected officials need to be heading and stay on that path. And frankly, that needs to be happening on a state level. I'm not saying it's not. We want to see it happen more on a state level and on a local level. I'm going to do my best to push Mayor Johnson to be a little bit more, what's the word I want to use? Not forthcoming, but maybe forward in his pressing back on things that he doesn't believe in, and maybe a little bit more forward and transparent in what he presents to us as citizens here in Chicago. Because I think that the more he does that, and he's been on that journey, the better it is for the city of Chicago, because there are a lot of people who are sniping at him, and they are trying to take him out because they don't like him, but not because he's not getting things done. We got to work on that with the mayor. I want him to succeed. I think anybody that says that they don't want him to succeed probably isn't really, they aren't being genuine in what they want for the city of Chicago. And a lot of that influence is coming from suburban voices that want to see things different in the city of Chicago. I've tested that, and I'm going to continue to lean into that and pay attention to that. All right. Today's show, our guest, we have a really great interview that I did with comedian and political activist Dana Goldberg that will be taking place in the 7 o'clock hour. And then our good friend Kristen Crowell from Fair Share America. She's the executive director, and they've got some really cool things happening. Kristen will be with us in the 7:30 hour, so we're looking forward to that. But we're going to take a quick break right now. The number, of course, is 773-763-9278. And what's that? It's the Credo mobile phone and text line. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
We are proud to have U.S. Representative Nikki Baczynski with us here this morning.
I think we should be talking to voters about the fact that it is Democrats that are fighting to make your life better. We are the party that is protecting the working people, the retirees in this country. It is not the other side who is standing with the MAGA billionaires in this country, trying to get them a lower tax rate. That's who they are. We are for fighting to improve your everyday life, and we have plans that are going to do that. And I think we need to focus on the everyday costs that people are facing. You know, it's truly what I believe Trump sold as a snake oil salesman to voters that he was going to tackle on day one. And you and I both know that that's the last thing he's been doing. He hasn't done a damn thing.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Choose View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to the show. The rise of the infinite workday. Choose View's news. A couple quick items for you guys. Many companies have called workers back to the office, but that doesn't mean their workdays end when they head home. New data from Microsoft shows that 1 in 5 meetings now happens outside of core business hours, time during which the average employee also sends or receives more than 50 messages. Some 16% of meetings happen after 8 p.m., and 57% are not previously scheduled. As a result, for many, the workday now feels like navigating chaos, according to the research that we found with LinkedIn. And that's one of the reasons why people are pushing really hard against the RTO, because the days have expanded. So people are like, listen, if I'm going to have to work that, if I'm going to have to be drawn into a meeting at what is considered the after hours time frame, then let us work from home. We're getting the work done. So I know a lot of folks are impacted by this, millions, in fact. Which items cost more? The New York Times reporters prowled various store aisles through the spring season to see if prices had risen on 40 picks in the recent review that they conducted. Items included the Apple iPhone 16 Delta 5 setting shower head, Green Bell nail clippers, and LG's top refrigerator in the LRFL. Prices didn't budge on more than half of the products, while 10 were costlier. Increases were led by appliances, and the refrigerator rising most of all at 39%. To be sure, the outcome doesn't mean prices won't rise as tariffs feed through the economy. And last but not least, Intel is considering some large layoffs in July, and they've made it very clear the primary reason is the shift in production and the cost of manufacturing chips. Unfortunately, they're concerned that the tariffs are going to impact their ability to manufacture them in a cost-effective way. So what's the first thing you do? You lay people off. Tariffs. Don't be head faked by Donald Trump and his band of merry idiots when it comes to this conversation. All right, guys, we'll get to some current events in a bit, but just as a reminder with regard to Credo Mobile, make sure you're listening to our exclusive live broadcast of the Chicago Pride Parade, sponsored by Credo Mobile, Sunday, June 29th, from 11 until 2 p.m. And I'll probably be there because we're going to have a float, aren't we, Henry? Yeah, I believe so. That's what's going to be happening. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be joined by Brian Enlist, Senior Lecturer and Director of African Studies and the African American Diaspora at Loyola University here in Chicago. Greg Hines, columnist for Chicago Crane's Business. And let's see, Heartland Signal's Rich Everyone with 3 stories you might have missed from our digital newsroom. See, I told you, Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, Chicago's Progressive Talk for 20 years. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be talking to Jesse Royal, the candidate for Illinois State Representative in District 52, Elise Percy of Northwest Side Dems Pride Parade, Dan Schaefer, the creator of the Recombination Area and political editor at Civic Media in Wisconsin. And of course, car guy Tom Appel, host of the Consumer Guide Car Stuff podcast. It's Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. Central here on WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And tomorrow on our show, Sherman Dilla Thomas is a brand ambassador and social media chief at the DuSable Black History Museum and Education Center, will be with us in the 7:30 hour. And Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast will be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour. Hanging out with Karen tomorrow, talking to Sherman Dilla. That'll be great. And today, as you know, we've got our interview with Dana Goldberg, and our guest, Kristen Crowell from Fair Share America, will be joining us. So that's something we're definitely looking forward to. So, guys, here's my question of the day, that it's June 19th. So this is, I was replaying some things about Juneteenth, and I thought, gosh, how do I want to navigate and talk about this today? Well, I figured, here's what I'll do. It's not about, being an expert on everything or being an expert in a particular space, but certainly having some thought parameters. And my question regarding Juneteenth, the question I'm going to ask you guys is a question that was asked to me years ago, and I had to kind of do a replay and go, all right. So a few years ago, I was asked by a colleague of mine, so Chu, what does Juneteenth mean to you? And I'll be honest with you, it took me aback, Henry. I was like, I know what it means, what it represents, but what does it mean to me? And that was a question he was asking, and I thought, okay. I didn't have a really clear answer. I remember, I do remember going, in my brain, I was like, I don't know if I have a clear answer, a concise answer. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I have one today, but then what I thought about is, I don't know if I need to have one. That's what came to me. It's like, do I need to have one? And that's why I was like, you know what? That's really not a question to ask me necessarily. I turned around and said, well, what does it mean to you? And this person is not African American. So that's why I said, well, what does it mean to you? What do you know about it? Because it's really more important that you have a perspective than it is for me to have one. And he appreciated the fact that I, responded that way, because I really didn't have a clear answer, which told me that I needed to think about that, in all honesty. But I wanted to know, what did it mean to him? Before he answered the question, though, I did say, for me, what it means. To me, it represents freedom. It represents freedom of thought. It represents freedom of people, represents freedom of action, and all the rest, because it's tied to, directly or indirectly, by fault or not, the ending of enslavement. So we know that that's the big picture thought about Juneteenth. But so my question to you guys, as best you can answer it, or as best you can respond to it, and if you've ever even thought about it, and irrespective of your community or culture, and that is this: what does Juneteenth mean to you? And I'm curious in these next, 30 minutes or so, or for the rest of the show, actually, but certainly like to get your calls in prior to our two guests. But give us a call, send me a text, and let me know what your response is to, what does Juneteenth mean to you, or what are your thoughts about Juneteenth, and maybe a broader question. But let's try to stick to that. What does it mean to you? And share with us your thoughts there. You can text, certainly, but you also can give us a call, and we want to take your calls and get you on the air. And, of course, the Credo mobile phone and text line is 773-763-9278. So let us know. What does it mean to you? I could go through the list of the things that took place and what happened and why and what didn't happen and maybe why. But my singular answer has become, it's about freedom. That's it right there. And you can build an organizational chart underneath what freedom means. So let me know. Give me a call. Give us a call and let us know what that means. What does Juneteenth mean to you? All right. So we are in Chicago, and here we are. For those who are in Chicago and those who are in the upper Midwest, I should say this as well. I want everybody to be mindful of the fact that our weather finally has changed, and that some of the strong storms that are taking place and the heavy rains and heavy winds are going to cause certain things. One of them is on the roads, whether it be highways or streets or whatever in the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes area. We've got some storms that are sort of circling around and, saying, hey, let's hang around this area for a little bit longer. And that brings a couple things. When it comes to commuting, streets are going to be wet for a bit, and there's going to be some pockets of flooding and puddles. So just be mindful of that. What made me think about this, Henry, and I know you guys, will laugh at me with my goofiness, is I was driving yesterday and I saw, the bike paths, the green bike paths, and for those of you who are not in Chicago, we have bike paths that folks can ride on with some safety and a little bit of protection. I saw one of them that was flooded to the curb, to the height of the curb. That's crazy, right? So it popped into my brain. I kind of made a mental note, and I said, please let me remember to talk about this. Guys, everybody, when you're out these next few days, and really through the course of the summer, but certainly these next few days, there's a couple things you're going to pay attention to. If you're in Chicago and surrounding suburbs, and even to some extent the upper Midwest, Great Lakes region, this rain will cause some flooding. It'll cause some changes in how you commute. If you're driving, if you're biking, if you're walking, if you're on a scooter, be careful, because it's in some cases it's like black ice. You don't see that there's a puddle there, and you may drive into a larger water area than you realize, because you think it's just a street, but it's actually a puddle. So please be careful in that space. One, if you're walking, same thing. If you're commuting, you're getting off the bus, same thing. But here's the other thing I want everybody to be mindful of here in the Chicago metropolitan area, the city, suburbs, and surrounding communities. We're going to have a heat wave these next 4 days. After these storms kind of settle in, it's going to be hot as you know what these next 4 days, through Tuesday, as I looked at it. Now, that could change because it is Chicago and it is the upper Midwest. But please, 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 people, stay hydrated. We've got temperatures that could reach over 95 degrees. which means that the heat indexes are going to be up there as well because the humidity that's going to be in the air because of the rain that we have. That'll still be, the wetness will still be what's going on. So these are going to be from what I read, 3 of the hottest days, and then 3 more of the hottest days that we've had since this time of year in June, since going back to the late 80s, early 90s. So stay hydrated. If you're going to be out and about, make sure you take maybe an extra thing of water and just be safe. So what can I tell you? I'm not a weatherman, but I saw this puddle yesterday, Henry, and I thought, what's coming? And the weather these next few days is going to be very hot, and with this excessive humidity, I want everybody just to be mindful of that. So there you go. All right, Henry, let's take a quick break, guys. When we come back, we're going to chat a little bit. I want to hear your question, hear your thoughts about what does Juneteenth mean to you, and we'll talk about a few current events that are taking place in and around this great, great country that we live in. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Ready to hold the powerful accountable? Leave your message for Richard Chu at 773-467-8202 because democracy needs your voice.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. That's 800-365-6303.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A few spotty rain showers and storms early today, then possibly redeveloping late. Otherwise, a blend of clouds and sunshine develops, a high in the mid-80s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, we'll have partly cloudy skies, a low near 66. By Friday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms. Blend of clouds and sunshine develops, high of 84. Saturday, sunny, a high of 94. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 66.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
It's Choose View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to the show, 773-763-9278. So, make sure you guys are, as I said before we went to the break, please be mindful of the heat these next 4 to 6 days. It's going to be hot and excessively hot and humid. Given the rain that we've had and more rain to come, and then it'll suddenly stop raining and the sun will be out and you'll be like, I can't breathe. So be mindful of that. Just be aware. Okay, so a couple of current events that I'll go through and then we'll come back and talk about them. I've been waiting for someone to do this, Henry. A reporter tells Trump to his face that the media sane washes him. While Trump was standing outside watching workers put in a new flagpole at the White House. That's why he had those hard hats standing behind him talking about what's going on in Iran. Put in a new flagpole at the White House because that seems to be what the 79-year-old president with no interest in working does. A reporter asked him about a question that they let Vice President Harris ramble on 60 Minutes. And the reporter basically said that when you have been basically incoherent and the media doesn't call you on it, essentially they are sane washing you. And so I've been waiting for a member of the media or the reporter crew to say, that answer didn't make any sense. Or what you said on many occasions doesn't make a lot of sense. So there you go. Another current event that's talking about Trump and his activities. The Democrats this was during the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing chaired by Chuck Grassley, and deciding to have this hearing on the cover-up of Biden's cognitive decline. The Democrats responded by playing a video of Trump's decline and then walking out of the hearing, which I thought was pretty cool. The Senate majority, the Republican majority, I should say, on the Senate Judiciary Committee decided that of all the things they could be investigating or talking about involving the Trump administration, the most important thing that they could spend their time on was a hearing to explore the cover-up, quote, of Joe Biden's cognitive decline. The Democrats on the committee, one of which is our own Senator Dick Durbin, responded by not showing up to the hearing at all for the most part. Only Durbin, Senator Durbin, who was the top of the Democrat of the committee, and Peter Welch were there for the beginning of the hearing. Basically, Durbin said, do any of these statements raise questions of cognitive ability? You be the judge. If my colleagues are truly interested in issues of presidential succession and disability under the 25th Amendment, I would suggest they embark on constitutional journey with the proposed amendment, not today's political adventure. Close this folder, and then a video can be seen showing him walking out. That's kind of how you have to do it. In part, I think that they, like Representative Carbajal, call them on it in the moment. Don't wait. Don't give them time to recover or get back off their heels. Let's see. Alyssa Slotkin, who is the newly elected senator in Michigan, drops a truth bomb on the Republicans and their hypocrisy around the troops. And we're going to have a clip, not of her specifically, but of a different clip in that space on the troops supporting the hypocrisy of the Republicans supporting troops being called into Los Angeles. And she essentially said that, and I agree with this, that if the Republicans, that Republicans would lose their minds if a Democratic president deployed the military to a red state, but they're just fine with Trump doing it in Los Angeles. So that that leads to a couple of clips that we put together that I want you guys to hear. And it really is. It's interesting when you hear someone say it out loud about not only the hypocrisy, but the lack of need to have troops in any city in the first place, given that people are just protesting the humanity that's not being shown, or the lack of humanity being shown by this administration. We've got two. We're going to get to one of them now real quickly, and it's George Conway. Well, no, not George Conway. I'm sorry. Well, let's go to the Stansbury clip. Can we go to that one first? Yeah, let's do that one, and then we'll come back to the other ones.
From a Marine veteran family, let me be clear. Marines are combat troops. They are highly trained, highly disciplined, lethal fighting force combat troops. And they should never be deployed against the American people who are exercising their constitutional rights. This is a gross and disgusting abuse of power. A disgusting abuse of power by fake tough guys who think that they can intimidate our communities while taking away their rights. And this is from the same man who dodged the draft and called our military service members suckers and losers. That's your commander-in-chief. And here, these folks here and the president want to say they're for our military and our veterans while they're illegally deploying service members, violating state sovereignty, gutting the VA, firing generals and lifelong service members. And you all want to sit in here and play like you're with the military and the American people, while Donald Trump is planning to spend $45 million of your hard-earned taxpayer dollars on a fake military parade this Saturday that they can't even fill, that they put a super PAC ad on Craigslist to recruit citizens of the city of Washington, D.C. to go stand in the parade route. Congratulations, it's made for TV.
Okay, so there's so many great parts of that, but the best part is her just unapologetic frustration and her unapologetic anger, and breaking it down to say, listen, this is something that you all are sitting by and letting happen, and you have the power to deal with it and to do something about it. And the more voices that speak to this, the better. And when I say voices, I mean those of the elected officials that speak to this, the better. And yes, this parade, the money that it cost, and then the cost of, as I said last week, of sending troops into Los Angeles who weren't doing anything. You know, that to me is where the hypocrisy of waste, fraud, and abuse and Doge is, you know, it's right in our faces, and it needs to be spotlighted. We can't talk about it enough. As much as I say we have to pay attention and stay focused, we do, but we can walk and chew gum at the same time. So that's why, you know, hearing from our representatives like this is important. Here in Chicago, we are, you know, a little bit on a tipping point as to what's going to happen next. If Trump wants to try to go forward with his threat of going after the big three cities, Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago, then this is something that we have to be prepared for. And the mayor has made it clear, and the governor as well, and other state officials, that they are prepared to do what they have to do to protect the citizens of the state and the citizens specifically of the city of Chicago. And so this is where and why we continue to highlight this. And I know for some it might be, you know, old hat, but we have to continue to highlight this because oftentimes what happens is something is spotlighted, if you will, to make a point. Well, the spotlight is put on something, and then when nobody's really talking about it, then it kind of goes away, and then the next thing you know, bam, something changed, and you're like, how in the hell did that happen? It's because we didn't keep the spotlight on it. We didn't keep focusing on these things. And this is a challenge. There's a lot that's coming at us. We know that. We talk about it every week, if not every day. But that's the work that we've got to be committed to doing, is staying on point and staying on topics that are important. So I know that you guys go, give us a deep breath. It's coming. The fire hose is at full strength. But this is, if you're aware of it, then I think you're more equipped to be able to do something about it. And that's the reason that we keep you as best we can informed on what some of these current events are and who's talking about them. There's another clip that I think is important as it relates to the delivery of our military, the proper use of our military. And this comes from, you know, another elected official and someone that understands precisely how our military should be used and what they should not be used for. And so Henry and I've got another clip that we put together. Jake Auchinloss speaks to that as well.
We're putting these Marine officers in an impossible situation, and I served in 29 Palms. I was a first and second lieutenant in 29 Palms in command of an infantry platoon, and this is probably the elite training ground for the United States military. It's 1,000 square miles that is meant to be blown up. It's in the desert. And these Marines are training to destroy the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. They're being trained to destroy the People's Liberation Army in Guam. They are not trained to do crowd control in Los Angeles. I can guarantee you these Marine corporals and sergeants and lieutenants do not want to be doing this. They don't feel trained and equipped to be doing this. And they don't need to be doing this. Los Angeles is not in rebellion right now. The president is manufacturing a crisis about immigration to distract from his bad handling of the economy. And he is abusing his role as commander-in-chief. These Marines need to be back in their barracks.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Our vulnerabilities are heightened when we misallocate our resources, particularly when it comes to our defense resources. And there are people that are speculating that we are going to go to war or certainly have troops on the ground. I've said it somewhat from a speculation standpoint, but that's the concern. And a lot of military officials are saying this. And I know this from military folks who I've talked to and that I've read and I've researched that have said the concern with deploying troops, obviously in the United States, on the United States cities is in and of itself unnecessary. However, what happens if there is an event that requires them to be properly deployed to a foreign land? And that's the concern of a lot of both active duty and retired military men and women. And so, this is, once again, this administration doesn't know what the hell they're doing. They're not plugged into what really needs to happen with resources. And a good example right now is the threat of military being in other cities. What does happen if we do have an engagement that we've got to actually send troops and have troops deployed to other parts of the world? How do we navigate that? And that's what so many people on the right have not been willing to ask that question. Slow down for a minute and ask the question of logic behind that. We have cities that have law enforcement. We have cities, big cities particularly, that have county police. Chicago's a good example. Los Angeles is. New York is. Set up a little bit differently because of the density of New York. But, L.A. and Chicago have a huge police departments, and they have large county connections. And they're, the cities that are inside of Cook County benefit from that. So deploying military, and hell, even the National Guard in a city like Los Angeles or a city like Chicago or part of a city is wasteful when you've got these other legal folks of expertise and legal people. Here's the other part, too, about the National Guard by comparison. Who do you think knows more about a community in Los Angeles? A county police officer, a city police officer and a county police officer, or a National Guard member? Who do you think knows more about what's happening in Oak Park, the west side, the north side, the southeast side of the city of Chicago, than a Chicago police officer and a Cook County police officer and an Oak Park police officer? Who knows more, that group of people or the National Guard and the Marine, the military? That's the other part that just isn't the wastefulness of this administration and the lack of coordination if they were to be used. So just wanted to highlight those couple of clips. We've got some others when we come back from this break. We'll talk a little bit about your responses to Juneteenth. The number, of course, is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
WCPT 20th Anniversary Replay 2019.
Hi, I am Joan Esposito, and I want to say it's an honor to be here. WCPT AM 820 is a place where people learn to talk about the things that matter. They learn about one another, and I am so happy to be a part of that. We are a progressive station, but I want you all to know that I welcome all points of view as long as we're civil and respectful. Different points of view can be entertained, but rudeness will not be. We can have honest discussions, we can ask tough questions, and maybe learn a little bit about our neighbors. So I hope you'll join me. I hope you will join me for this journey that kicks off today. I want to have some fun. I want to learn about you. I also want to talk to the people who are involved in the arts and cultural communities in Chicago.
Listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to the show. Let's grab a quick call, then we'll talk a little bit about Juneteenth. Let's see what Jim has to say. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Rich. Was there a tariff on horse manure?
I heard that they were trying to get that one, they're trying to get him to sign that one too, Jim, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Yeah, because we're buried in it. We're exporting and importing it daily. But as far as June 19th is concerned, think about anybody who picks up a history book and reads American history. They have to realize that they deserve that day royally because of the fact that I lived through the civil rights demonstrations. I demonstrated with the Black Panther Party in Washington, D.C., and I understood that they felt that they weren't getting their due in the United States of America, which was absolutely true. I thought we remedied some of this, but these Republicans seem to ignore it completely. I mean, DEI they want to get rid of. They want to get rid of history of wonderful black people that contributed to our country, that made us the great country that it is. But I live in Chicago. You know Chicago well, Rich. I mean, any ethnic group that wants to celebrate, Puerto Ricans, Irish, Italians, anything, they have their little demonstration. But this particular day is for people who've been discriminated against and been denied employment and real estate and you name it. But how you can deny that in American history, or any kid that reads an American history book, that's my point about the horse manure. How can you cover history in horse manure? That's the thing that really puzzles me, and it's so difficult. That's why CPT. I love this show, and this radio outfit. But it's so hard. It's so hard to find any articulate information about it. I love Democracy Now! I don't know if you listen to it at night, but they seem to be the only people that report. Give it to you right between the eyes, reporting. But you don't see it anywhere, Rich. But anyway, you have a great morning, Richard. Take care. Have a good day. Stay cool. It's going to be like the desert out here the next 3 days. Thanks,
Jim. All right, man.
Take care. Take your bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, Jim Zacard. I love him. I will just add to what he's saying on the history telling part of it is, it's making sure that accurate information is out there. How am I tying that to Juneteenth? The story, people were not made aware of truth, a thing that had happened, and that was the end of enslavement for a number of years, and then Texas, liberated the community. I mean, it's another example of the country lying to its citizens, and specifically or particularly lying to folks who were enslaved, and then the not acknowledging the emancipation of enslaved people. It's another lie that the country perpetrated, and that we're going back to 1863, 1865 of the perpetration of a lie then. So, others have said different things about today, Juneteenth, and let me just read a couple. Some have said it means the liberation of a group of African people who were enslaved in the United States of America. The holiday should remind us all that slavery of human beings was a horrible decision made at the birth of our country, and it should never be forgotten. That's coming from our good friend Nancy. Alice said, the acknowledgement of the end of slavery, a reminder of our true history and a warning of today, a milestone in history. I put my flag out. Wow, that's pretty powerful. Let's see what else is said. I got to give a shout out to one of our listeners that's having some surgery today. So stay healthy and much success to that. Let's see. Stay with me, guys. Juneteenth, just a small step forward. Welcome to another 100 years of Jim Crow. Wow. Okay. Just making sure we get a couple of these in, guys. So I think that most people understand it, meaning the day, But also just keeping the question, and if you don't want to answer it this way on air or with the text, in your own mind, what does it mean to you? How does it impact you? What has it meant to you? What have you learned from it? I think it was an actor that said, I just found out, didn't even know about Juneteenth until like 6 years ago. And that's not that, I'm not going to mention the actor's name. I know who it is, but I'm not going to do that to them. Not that I know them, but in all fairness, he openly said, I didn't even realize that this was part of our history. The point is that, and a number of you have said this in your text, the point is that we can't erase our history. The best thing that we can do is learn from it. Right now, in this current craziness and chaos that we're going through, and I played a couple of clips regarding the use of military and troops in our cities. That in and of itself, there should be a lesson learned. There should be a lesson that we've already learned there, and not about the specificity of the troops, but breaching the Constitution, pushing up on the Constitution, and saying we're not going to follow the guidelines of the Constitution. That's going to get us in trouble, bigger trouble than we can imagine. And using the troops as an example of that. So we have to be willing to call out all of our elected representatives, as we say every week, if not every day, on this show and others. Our Democratic leaders, particularly, we need them. We want them to continue on the fights that they're on. We want to continue to hear the Melanie Stansburys of the world and the Representative Carbajals of the world speak truth to these idiots that are on the right, that are part of the administration. And this is what I want to see more also. I want to see more of our Democratic elected officials on all levels start to readily kind of do what Dick Durbin did and more of this. And that's calling out not only the administration, but calling out real time the quote unquote colleagues on the right. I mean, you know you guys know how I feel about calling them their colleagues. Now, you start calling them out for their bad behavior right now. How about someone that's an elected Democratic official, say, representative or senator, say, on a federal level? How do you think that your constituents feel back home that you're not showing up for a town hall? Do it during one of the congressional hearings when we're talking about cutting Medicare, Medicaid, education, SNAP. Ask that congressional leader on the right, how do you think that a farmer in your community, if I'm making an assumption here that representative is from a community that has a rural component to it, or rural constituents, how do you think they feel about what you're cutting? Ask them that question real time, on air. Use camera time to force them to answer that question in a hearing. Just pivot. You got the person from the administration, the Hegseths and the Gnomes and all the rest that are showing up. But turn and pivot to your colleagues, if you want to call them that, and ask them, why are you allowing this to happen? I don't know. Call me crazy, y'all. Call me crazy. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Henry, do we have time? Well, we'll wait. We won't do that because we got a lot going in the next hour. So I was going to drop another clip on you from our wonderful senator here in Illinois, Tammy Duckworth. Do we have time to drop that one in? Let's drop that one in real quick. You guys will appreciate what Senator Duckworth does in this moment.
In response to my colleague from Oklahoma, I believe the Secretary of Defense has just responded last week and admitted that the $1 billion mission that he led against the Houthis, who do not have a navy, has not restored the transit of U.S. flag commercial vessels through the Red Sea, and in fact has resulted in the loss of 2 F-18 Hornets to the tune of $60 million apiece, as well as, I believe the last count was 7 Reaper drones to the tune of another $200 million. You are blowing through money like my fellow cadets and I did in our first Liberty after basic camp. Luckily, I didn't end up with a questionable tattoo. Your failures, Mr. Secretary, since you've taken office, has been staggering. You sent classified operational information over Signal to chest thump in front of your wife, who, by the way, has no security clearance, risking service member lives in the process. You blew the $1 billion fight against the Houthis, whom, again, as my colleague says, has no Navy, and yet you lost all of those aircraft. You've created such a hostile command environment that no one wants to serve as your chief of staff or work with you in other senior DoD leadership roles. But what we should all be talking about more than all of this is that you have an unjustified, un-American misuse of the military in American cities, pulling resources and attention away from core missions to the detriment of the country, the war fighters, and yes, the war fighting that you claim to love. I don't know if this is because you are too inexperienced and incompetent to understand the real threats facing our country, or if it's because you are just an unqualified yes man who can't tell the president how to keep Americans safe. You are focusing on renaming basis for Confederate generals. You said just now to Senator King that to a man and to a woman, we would rather be associated with the old Confederate names. Well, I am one of those women. I served at Fort Rucker, Alabama, a base that was named for a traitor who took arms against the United States of America, led troops who killed Americans. It was renamed for Mike Novosel, a Medal of Honor recipient, who in his citation for the Medal of Honor includes that he saved 29 American lives, to include hovering backwards in a helicopter towards an enemy bunker where a wounded American was laying and saved that person, including after being taken fire himself. I know a little something about what it takes to fly a helicopter when you've been hit by enemy fire. That was heroic. I'd rather be associated with Mike Novosel than a failed Confederate traitor. I don't know whether you are inexperienced or too incompetent, but I wonder when you will actually focus on our nation's warfighting mission. We know that California is just a deliberate, systematic, political, and dangerous campaign led by you. We should not be using our military to play cops against Americans.
There she goes. Let it be said again. The folks from Illinois are getting it done. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got a great interview that you'll want to hear. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Celebrate the culmination of Pride Month in Chicago by attending the Chicago Pride Parade, a celebration of love and unity on Sunday, June 29th. This year's theme, United in Pride, highlights the power of coming together, embracing our diversity, and championing love and equality as one united force. Together, we are unstoppable. You can watch anywhere along the route, from Broadway and Grace to Diversey and Sheridan. For more information, visit pridechicago.org and make sure to keep your eyes out for the WCPT float. If you can't attend the parade in person, you can listen live as Scott Duff and Ellen Miller describe all the excitement on WCPT 820 on Sunday, June 29th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The WCPT live parade broadcast is sponsored by the Center in Halstead and by Credo Mobile, a progressive phone company that is better for all people and the planet. Visit credomobile.com. WCPT 820, your Pride station in Chicago. From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Haya Panjwani. Israel's defense minister overtly threatened Iran's supreme leader. Speaking with reporters, President Trump says he knows Americans are wary of the U.S. getting involved in the Israel-Iran conflict.
I don't want to fight either. I'm not looking to fight. But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do.
At a hearing, Senator Josh Hawley asked former Justice Department official Theodore Wald about records that might show if former President Biden actually authorized the use of an auto pen to sign pardons and executive orders.
In the policy paper flow to the Oval Office, there should be a record of what documents are presented to the president when he gave his assent to the actions that are listed in those documents, whether it's a judicial nomination or it's a statutory response to Congress.
Well, I think the answer is we need to get those documents. And I just say to our friends in the media over here, you guys need to be asking for those documents, and we need to be asking for them.
One of sports' most iconic teams is changing hands in a record deal. Correspondent Gethin Kuba reports on the sale of a 17-time NBA title-winning franchise.
The Buss family has agreed to sell the controlling stake of the Los Angeles Lakers to TWG Global CEO Mark Walter, doing so with a franchise valuation of $10 billion, the most ever for a professional sports franchise. Jeannie Buss, whose family has had control control of the Lakers since her father bought the team in 1979, intends to remain as governor. Walter is part of the ownership of many other franchises, including the Los Angeles Dodgers, Chelsea FC, the Los Angeles Sparks, and several auto racing teams. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Today is Juneteenth, which marks the day in 1865 when enslaved people in Galveston, Texas, found out they'd been freed from slavery. This is AP News. The National Transportation Safety Board has provided new details about a deadly May plane crash in San Diego.
Shortly after the crash of a small jet into a San Diego neighborhood last month, NTSB investigator Dan Baker told reporters
there was airport lighting that was out that would have affected the illumination of the runway.
Now the NTSB says the runway lights at Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport had not been working since 2022. Repairs delayed while waiting for an environmental study, although other lights at the airport were working. Flying through foggy weather, the pilot acknowledged,
"Doesn't sound great, but we'll give it a go."
The NTSB says the pilot appeared to try to activate the runway lights by keying his microphone on approach. But too low, the Cessna struck power lines before crashing, killing all 6 people aboard and injuring 8 on the ground. Sound courtesy ABC 7 Los Angeles and liveatc.net. I'm Ben Thomas.
I'm Haya Panjwani.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A few spotty rain showers and storms early today, then possibly redeveloping late. Otherwise, a blend of clouds and sunshine develops, a high in the mid-80s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, we'll have partly cloudy skies, a low near 66. By Friday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms. Blend of clouds and sunshine develops, high of 84. Saturday, sunny, a high of 94. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 66. Do you disregard people's personal space? Sitting next to people in public, even if there are tons of open seats? Do people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help anyone sleep. There's still time. Come to Mattress Firm's July 4th sale and get a queen mattress and adjustable base for only $499.99. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Well, good morning, listeners, and welcome to Choose Views, and thank you for being with us today. With us is what I would say is one of our country's better activist and one of the prolific comedians that we know, and certainly someone that has been a leader in the LGBTQ community and someone that's recently made it clear that this month of Pride, she was going to do something unique and special about, and that would be none other than my good friend, Dana Goldberg. Dana, good morning.
Hey, Richard.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you doing? I know that's a tough question to ask, given the recent, within the last 2 hours, Supreme Court ruling in Tennessee. I figured we were going to talk about some other things first, but let's get right into it. Everybody that pays attention in our current conversations understands the impact of this recent decision today, and I'd like to get your thoughts, your feelings. I saw some of the things you posted on social media as recently as a half an hour ago.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Richard. Your first question was, how am I? I'm angry. I'm angry that somehow we've gotten to this place in this country where fear-mongering and lies and misinformation about a community can make a Supreme Court literally disregard science and proven research and the rights of parents and the protection of sex under the Constitution. So yeah, I'm angry, and just to remind people that the Supreme Court decision doesn't affect states where gender affirming care is legal, but what it does give is permission to all of these bigoted right wing, and I mean way right wing legislators to try and take away healthcare from our trans community, and they're not just going to stop at the kids. And I need people to understand that they want to take away healthcare from the entire trans community. So. Even though, there's some good things to celebrate, it's Pride Month, and we're being as gay as we possibly can, at least I am, today's not a good day. And so what I would say is check on your friends, check on your trans and non-binary friends, and check on the parents of trans children, because this is going to affect their families tremendously, especially if they live in the red states. So, yeah, that's how I am today, but I am happy to hear your voice. It's always nice to have community in times like this.
Well, as I say often to all of my friends, and particularly those who, I'm a black man in the marginalized community of black maleness, and you are a woman that is in the LGBTQ community. So we both come from an understanding that we have to support each other. It's our biggest superpower is supporting each other, because
100%.
It really is. And I think sometimes that's I don't think people forget about it, but I think sometimes folks may take it for granted. And that's why on my show every week, if not every day, I speak to the importance of staying connected. They are trying their damnedest to break us down. They are trying to pull us apart. And frankly, Dana, they're trying to get us to turn on each other. And I know that you've seen and spoke about that. Let's talk about that for a moment.
Well, I think even within the LGBTQ community, I mean, if you can make people question their own families, and when I say families, I mean chosen families, and not stand up for the rights, and make exceptions in different areas of society. If you if you dehumanize someone in one area, you give other people permission to dehumanize them in another. And that's part of the problem. This blitz in the zone from this administration is intentional. The chaos is intentional. The flooding is intentional, and they want to exhaust us. So I tell you what, though, with the No Kings rally, as well as Pride right now, and the organizations that I work for and tell jokes for and raise money for, this community is more energized and cohesive than I have seen it in a very long time. I think people are realizing that if they're coming for one of us, they're coming from all of us. You've got the Southern Baptist Church voting to actually go to the Supreme Court to try and take away marriage equality. They're not going to stop at our trans community. So, that poem, that whole poem, when they came for blank, I said nothing. Speak up. Now is the time to speak up.
Yeah, speak up and make sure that you are connecting with people who, listen, marginalized communities or not. There may be that person out there that they're staying in their silo because they're worried and they're concerned. And as a result, they're not allowing themselves to be active. So I think it's critical that we get out, we speak out, we reach out to people that may, feel like I can't do anything. I'm feeling stifled, and they may have felt that way prior to to the election last November. So I think that again is part of our superpower. And you mentioned the rallies, and you were you were a participant live, not Memorex, and it was a big deal all over the country. I happened to be in D.C. This past weekend, not for any of the Trump stuff, but to visit some family.
Of course not.
Of course not. Yeah, no. I went.
You weren't there for the squeaky tank going down that video. I tell you what, Richard, some things right now are giving me life. And if you can't find WD-40 for a military tank, maybe you're putting your money in the wrong place, Doge. You want to investigate why our tanks are squeaking down the road as we're trying to honor our army? How about you focus on that?
Well, I will say this to you. My brother-in-law and sister are retired military. They're good people, Dana. I mean it when I say they are good folk. Everybody that knows them, they've been stationed all over the world. They are good people. And we were driving back from an afternoon meal, heading back to their home, and my brother-in-law said, I know I shouldn't say this, Lord, and please forgive me for it, but I wish it would just pour raining.
We all did. We wanted to see that cotton candy hair melt all over the place. I mean, it would have just been poetic justice for Mother Nature to go, you know what? Absolutely not.
I got you at the inauguration. I'm going to get you again. You keep messing with me, there'll be a third and a fourth and a 10th time. We in the car, we were saying the same sentiments that you just dropped on us. But it was a big, powerful weekend for for the country, for the world, frankly. Here, the numbers are now at 13.1 million, 2,300 demonstrations. And I believe that it can grow, and it should grow, and I believe it can grow if we remind each other and remind those around us of the momentum that kind of, because people were saying it was only going to be a few 100,000 people in different cities, and it was far more than that across the country.
Yeah.
And that made me proud to see that and particularly for folks like you and me, we both are, in our own marginalized community, if you want to call it that, but we recognize the importance of being active and making sure our message is heard every single day.
Absolutely. You and I both agree with this. If you're only fighting for communities you belong to, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Like if you're only standing up for people that you have everything in common with, what are you even doing?
That's right.
Like that's not what our party is. That's not what progressives and Democrats do. We care about people. That's our superpower, is empathy.
It is.
And I know sometimes that can get us into some trouble, but I would rather be that than the other.
Yep. I'd rather be in that trouble for trying to help and make things better than the guy or the gal that's sitting on the sidelines not doing a doggone thing. That's just not how we're built. And that's something that we can be proud of in this month of Pride and the other 11 months of the year. So I'm going to pivot radically. We're running down the highway, and I'm going to make this hard left turn.
Let's do it.
I've got to. For those who may not have been paying attention or may not be connected to you on social media, which if you're not, that's wrong. You should be.
If it's not, what are you even doing with your life right now? I want you to, I don't know if you can pause this, but go on Instagram immediately and follow me. It's DG Comedy. You will not be sorry.
Trust me, you won't. All right. So let's talk about what I find hilarious, informative, educational, and just a good thing to do, and that's Gay of the Day. You got to let everybody know about that, where you were sitting and you had the light bulb go off, or who brought it to you and how it came together, and then let's talk about a little bit of what you've been doing.
You got it. This is my light bulb. All of these, really what happened was when Pete Hegseth decided that he was going to try and erase Harvey Milk's name from a Navy ship.
Yeah.
I thought it was more important than ever that we start telling the stories and of all of the LGBTQ plus people in history and today that have really made a difference in our lives and history. And so every day this month, I have done a Gay of the Day, and there's a little asterisk next to gay because not everyone's gay. I know not everyone in the LGBTQ community is gay, which confuses some people on the right, but we're not. But I mean, I started with Alan Turing because without Alan, we may not even have a computer.
Yep.
So, I say in the video, for all the trolls that are about to attack me, you can thank a gay man for your ability to do that, because he basically started what was the modern day computer, and he broke the Nazi code.
Yep.
He worked with the Allies. He was a good man. And I think it's more important than ever when they're trying to erase our stories and trying to erase the history of the LGBTQIA community that we amplify those stories. We remember who they are, whether it's blues singers, historians, athletes, musicians, artists. Today, as we're speaking on the 18th, today's Billie Jean King.
Yep.
She smashed glass ceilings when she beat Bobby Riggs in front of 90 million people.
Yep.
90 million people and
I
started
watched
this
it
fight.
live.
I bet
I'm
you
old
did.
enough to watch it. Go ahead.
It's like I was live. I was actually the ball boy on the courts. It's just people have been so appreciative because even in the community, I'm bringing people to light that some people didn't even know existed, like Albert Cashier, who became a Civil War hero, and my dear friend Brian Michael Smith, who is a trans actor that people have been watching on television, but maybe didn't even know he was trans. Like, it is really important right now that we remember these stories and amplify them. So for all the people that are already watching them and already on my social media that are sharing them to their social media, I cannot thank you enough, because that's how we get these stories amplified to people who need to see them. We all have those people in our lives that are, they may not agree with us. They may not agree with us that, equity is important and racial justice is important and trans rights is important. But you get to tell them that we've been here, we've always been here, and we're not going anywhere.
And that's what's so, and thank you for breaking that down and reminding people of the history of the things that we have today. If you dig deeply enough, you find out that the person that created much of what we have as our largesse in our communities today is probably from someone that you may not have thought. I think that the highlight, the LGBTQ community with Gay of the Day, and we understand what that means, is super important because, like so many of the inventions that were created by African Americans, many people didn't know. Oh, for me,
GPS,
the golf tee.
GPS, your ability to drive around a city was started by a black woman.
Yep. And we saw, and we know the importance of the movie Hidden Figures, and the
exactly
the list goes on. But this is my comment / question. I often at times ask this question: why? Why would they not? They being the people who are opposing us just all getting along and living comfortably together and not having all this drama. Why would they be that way? Part of my brain goes down this path. It's because they recognize that their so-called assumed power, strength, and smartest and bestest doesn't really exist. And they are actually kind of mediocre. And when someone finds out that this may have been created or designed or started by someone that's of the LGBTQ community or of a community, the black or other community of color, it does, I think, create a little bit of, well, we're not that great after all.
And some of you are, not all, hashtag not all white people.
Right.
But it is one of those things that obviously the history has been distorted through the years in books and stories and now legislation. And it's more important than ever that these stories that are the truth of our country. I saw a comedian the other day. Her name's Sarah, and I can't remember her last name right now. She's a British comic, and they're absolutely brilliant. And they were performing in Texas and asked one of the audience members what they did. And he said, well, I teach social studies. And there was some jokes behind that. And she's like, what does that even mean? He said, I teach the history of Texas to students. And she goes, all of the history? I'm like, are you
sure about that?
Yep.
No, I mean, and that's the part that allows us to laugh at the insanity of it. I mean, I'm going to drop the two quick names and then we'll keep going. Bayard Rustin is one of my heroes in this community. And of course, Billie Jean is because of her tennis prowess. But as a young boy watching what she did, because I have older siblings, and my sister Linda is one of my sheroes, if I can put it that way. But, I watched so many of these women in the 60s and in the 70s who were just making stuff happen, whether it be Angela Davis, whether it be Billie Jean King, and the list goes on. And so I've always had that sort of admiration and sheroism when it comes to women, because I was blessed with being raised by strong, confident women. Billie Jean is one of my, irrespective of her being a part of the LGBTQ community, she was one because she represented what I saw other women doing. And so it's kind of ironic that we're doing our segment today on the day that you decided to make her the gay of the day. But it's a great segment, Dana, and I really applaud you for putting it together. And I think it's meaningful for the community, but it's meaningful for those outside of the community as well, because people may not know, and they should know, that these are champions that have done such great work in their lives. So thank you for putting that together.
And my pleasure. It has been a labor of love, but I've learned a lot about my own community through this. And every Friday I do an ally. It's Ally Fridays, because it's really important. I think that we know that people like, Kristen Chenoweth and Pedro Pascal, and my ally for this week, Yardley Smith. And a lot of people may not even know the name Yardley Smith, but you do. She's the voice of Lisa Simpson.
Yep.
And she has been an ally for the LGBTQ community. Everything I've seen in her career. I mean, she was the biggest donor to defeat Proposition 8 in California. Yeah. She's always been there, but she's been behind the scenes. And I think it's really important that people know that there are people doing good things that have a massive platform, and they're not afraid of the backlash that comes with it.
That's the part that's so important. They don't question, like, should I do this because I'm going to receive some sort of adulation, or might I get criticized for it? Yeah, Yardley's the truth, and I'll shout out to her. I think she's got a birthday coming up right before the 4th of July. So she's great, and I that's awesome that's going to be your ally.
She is wonderful.
Dana, you've got a lot on your calendar. I know that there's a lot of things that you're going to be doing, and once we get through. Once we finish June and we'll be into July, we were coming up on a year of a massive change that took place in our society. We had the debate, which actually would be tomorrow night, Can you believe it's been a year?
No,
and
actually, I can't.
The debate's tomorrow night, and then I think I got my dates right on that. I hope I do at least. And then President Biden, within a few weeks, decided to step out of the election, and ascent of Vice President Harris took place. And then we were on this track racing to the election. We didn't get the outcome that we wanted, but I will say the thing that is keeping me focused and pressing forward is that folks are waking up. And I think that it's not a break, but there is a little bit of a crack in the fever of people who did not realize how important this election would be. Am I crazy, or are you in your travels and in your being out and about seeing some of that?
Well, I don't think you're crazy, and I think that what people need to realize is it's not just quote unquote our side. We've been awake. We're woke. Remember, that's the problem.
Alarm
We're
clock
all
went
too
off
woke
this morning.
That's right. It's the other side that I'm seeing waking up a little bit. It's the people who did not vote for this. It's the Republican constituents that are going to town halls and raising their voices, the veterans, the farmers, the federal workers that are getting screwed by this administration. And they are the ones that they are waking a beast that I don't think they realize. The midterm elections, if it's a free and fair election, is going to be a bloodbath for Republicans. And I say that in a very, not literal way. I just want to say that on public radio. But if we do this and we do it right and we can protect this election, you were going to see Republicans losing in red areas that they have had a stronghold on for a very long time because they are screwing their own constituents right now, and they're tired of it. So I don't think you're crazy. In fact, I think there's more happening than we even know because mainstream media isn't covering that.
That's right. And it's not to their advantage from a dollars and cents standpoint.
Of course not.
It's very short. I mean, it actually would be to their advantage, but it's short-sighted thinking that they can't cover things in a way that's right and showing the change or showing that crack in the seam that I believe is there. It doesn't mean we take our feet off the gas. We have to actually stand up. A friend of mine used to say we have to stand up on the accelerator right now.
That's right.
And we have to do that. And even if it's somewhat reckless, I think that's okay because let's talk about a couple of quick current items that are all sort of in the same bucket, and that's Padilla, Lander, and McIver in New Jersey. All three got handcuffed and arrested, or at least detained, because they did what? They decided to punch the bully. Not literally, but again, they decided to do what their job is:
they stood up,
ask a question at a press conference, walk your client through a place where he's supposed to be walking, and show up at a detention center to ask questions. They stood up. They faced that reality. But I think more people are saying, hell, if they can do it, then I probably should be doing it too. And I hope.
Absolutely. And especially when you got people like Elena Hava. I mean, that's the person that's speaking out against this. Get out of here. Like, I can't. I mean, I know I can't use bad words because of the FCC, but there's so many colorful words that I would like to use to describe that woman. But yeah, this being able to see our representatives go in and willing to get they're literally handcuffed to stand up for the Constitution and for due process under the law for anyone that is on this land. You step into the United States, you're protected by the Constitution, and no orange felon in the White House can take that away. No. It still stands. It is still law. Executive orders are they're wish lists. They don't become law just because he says them. And even though he probably doesn't even know that because he never saw when a bill becomes a law. But hey, we all watched it when we were in grade school.
Yes, we did.
But it is so nice to see these examples. And, when their names are announced at the No Kings rally or they're speaking at these No Kings rallies, the applause, the thunderous applause for these representatives that are willing to put themselves in the line of fire to stand up for what is right in this country. I want to see more of it. And in my hope is that there's some Republicans on that other side that are going to get a spine and put country over party and stand up to this dictator. Well, wannabe dictator.
Exactly. And to that end, here in Chicago and certainly in the state of Illinois, we've got a mayor and a governor and a lieutenant governor that are not they are nobody's fool. They have said it, made it loud and clear. They will do what they have to do to protect the citizens of this state and of the city. And all of our listeners around the country that listen to CPT, that listen to my show specifically, have said they don't have to agree with everything that they're saying, meaning Pritzker and Johnson,
100%,
and Lieutenant Governor Stratton. But they recognize that they were some of the first people to step up and say, you come through here, you're going to come through me. And Mayor Johnson just said this yesterday, that the and Lady B is laughing and nodding at me. Mayor Johnson just said that he's not taking off the table arresting ICE agents and FBI agents if they cross the line and they go about their quote unquote the detainments in the wrong way. Because this is our jurisdiction, his jurisdiction as mayor. That's what we want to see our Democratic leaders do more of. Make it clear. We're going to arrest you, too.
Absolutely.
So we're excited about that. But I think in a broader sense, to your point, having our leaders step forward and put their stuff on the line is what so many, 13.1 million folks want to see, and more of it. And that's step out, be out there, be loud, be proud, and not just in this month of Pride, but 24/7. So
absolutely, and I still have to believe there's more people out there with integrity and empathy and love for their fellow humans than there are not. The other group, though, is just really loud. They have a megaphone that is carrying; their voices are carrying. But when you have horrible people like Mike Lee commenting about the assassination of our elected officials on Twitter like that. And people aren't calling for his resignation, primary him. Make sure that he no longer is part of this, democracy. He doesn't deserve to be.
I said this earlier today that we know that Thune, that the Senate Majority Leader, is not going to do anything about that. But the people who voted for him in the state of Utah should be saying, wait a minute. That's not cool. And if you can't, you need to apologize, or we're coming. We, the voters of the state. And that's where I go. Sometimes a lot of this is not just on the elected officials. It's on the voters. It's on the citizenry to step up and say, no, dude, you got to go if you can't clean that up.
Yeah, and there are a lot of good people in Utah, all over the place. Everyone thinks that Utah is a deep red state, and it's really not. I mean, there's a lot of control still by that church, but there are really good people trying to do things, whether it's the mayor of Salt Lake City or other people in the community. And I really hope that, Utahns, what are they? Utahns.
Yeah.
Just realize you deserve better. I'm not saying you have to elect a Democrat. I'm not asking you to change everything you may believe in, but you definitely believe in more than Mike.
Yeah, without a doubt. More than Mike. Wow. The time goes by fast. You and I both know we could talk for hours, which we've done.
It always does, my friend.
I'm so glad you could be with us, but I'm even more so proud of the work that you're doing, that you take on. And whether it be human rights, HRC, whether it be your comedic shows, the shows that you appear on, all of the above, you're doing great work and people recognize it. And I will get after everybody if you don't follow Dana Goldberg on social media and all the rest of the great stuff she's doing. So one more time, how can folks find you?
You can find me on all the social media platforms, but Instagram's a really good one because you don't just get the videos. You also get to see fun pictures from my life. It's DG, my initials, DG Comedy. So I would love to see some numbers from this radio station once y'all hear it. And I just appreciate this. I appreciate this community. It's part of a larger community. I know there's a lot of overlap with your fans, with Stephanie Miller and the Daily Beans. And we got to stick together. We are cut from the same cloth, and we are the good ones. So make sure that your voices are heard louder than the hate out there. Lift it up. Lift it up.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dana, for being with us. And we will do this again soon.
You got it. Love you, my friend.
You too. Bye now.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922, and we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders to this day.
Whether you need a deposit account, loan, trust services, or investment management, ABOC has you covered. Let's work together to manage your finances today while planning for a better tomorrow. ABOC, a bank built on a strong foundation.
Visit aboc.com to learn more. Member FDIC.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressive. Welcome back to Choose Views. We're live again. Great interview with Dana Goldberg, comedian, activist. As I said in the segment, you want to definitely follow her if you aren't already. She does great work, and we had a good conversation. Timing is always a thing, and so we got to keep things moving forward. We have had this wonderful, wonderful executive director on with us before, and we said we're going to have her on again and again because what she's doing and leading and making happen is so important, and speaking out. I hope you like the picture that I posted of you. Welcome to the show, Kristen Crowell, Executive Director of Fair Share America. But Kristen, I hope you liked the picture that I posted of you on social media. It was of you standing at a podium with the fist held high and your version of the fight sign. So I saw that and I thought, yep, got to put that one on social media. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I am fired up. Like you said, and it was inspiring to listen to the last interview, and I think there's a lot of commonalities on what she's lifting up and what I'm lifting up, and coming out of a massive weekend with the No Kings protest. I just feel so much hope about what people are saying and how we are sticking together and standing up to this administration. So it's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Appreciate you being with us. Yeah, Dana does great work. You do great work. And I think the collective of us doing great work and leaning in is what we have to do. We have to stay connected. We have to have each other on each other's shows. We have to support the work that folks are doing because it all matters. And, you know, Dana may be speaking about the LGBTQ community specifically, but she, as she said, recognizes that if you're fighting on all fronts, then you're helping all people that need the support. And that's what Fair Share America is doing. Everybody is impacted in one way or the other by labor, by revenues from states, as well as on a federal level when it comes to the taxes. And, you know, I love what you're just taking on. And it's meaningful. It's important. It's all these words, it's all these adjectives. It's necessary. But doggone it, you've got a new thing that I wanted to talk about today. And this is highlighting your cross-country bus tour and on the reconciliation bill. Let's get into that.
Yeah, well, I can't sit still, Richard. It is. There's too many people that deserve to have their voice heard as this reconciliation bill plays out. Since we spoke last time, you know, I think I was on right after the House advanced their version of this bill. They had a one vote is what it came down to. So we know that the pressure is working. We also know that as more people hear about this, as this plays on, it remains deeply unpopular. I think there were 3 or 4 public polls released yesterday that show that the majority of the American public do not want the GOP to advance this policy. And so Fair Share America and me are getting on the bus, a big, giant green bus, to highlight that we, the people, are standing up to stop this billionaire giveaway. And that's the title of the bus tour. It's Stop the Billionaire Giveaway. And tomorrow morning, I will be flying out to New York, where I will board the bus. And for the next 3 weeks, I will be traveling coast to coast from New York to California, across 14 states, with over 30 stops with community partners, to host rallies and town hall meetings, to visit offices of GOP members of Congress that refuse to meet with their constituents, really to shine a spotlight on this is a deeply unpopular bill. It is the most egregious, offensive, immoral plan that the Republicans could put before the public, and it will do massive harm. And so it's time to hit the road. And it's time to make sure that we are connecting the dots, that this is not one district in Wisconsin and one district in Michigan. No, this is a populist uprising that is taking the country by storm, and the people deserve to be heard. And really, that's the impetus for me. When I am with my community members, when I'm with my neighbors, it feels powerful, and we deserve to be with each other, to fight back. Again, I go back to that fighting is and remains the most hopeful thing that we can do. And we may not be able to change this outcome, but my gosh, we are going to stand together in solidarity with our neighbors and our communities. So I'm getting on the bus, Richard, and I'm going to be gone until mid-July. And I really cannot wait to be in the rooms, in the community parks with folks who are scared and hurting, but refusing to stand down and refusing to give up hope in this moment.
I mean, I have such respect for the effort that you've been doing in general with Fair Share America, but getting on a bus and having a bus tour like this and getting out to people, to your point, that may be scared and worried, are probably scared and worried, but they decided that they aren't going to roll up their tent, that they're going to stay in the fight. And taking it on the road, if you will, is critically important. And I'll just say this: there's so many things that we'll chat about in this short period of time, hopefully. And then what we'll do is have you back, maybe during the tour, if it works out, to have you call in. We can do something while you're on the road.
Excellent.
That would be cool. I think it really would be nice. So let's make sure we make that happen. But this is what I'll put out to people across the country that are listening to our show in whatever capacity you are, or that will follow Kristen and the work that she's doing and going to be embarking on with this bus tour. Name me one GOP person, whether they're an elected official or not, that's taken such a concern and such a level and element of care for our society that they would put together and be part of a bus tour to get out and say, no, this is unacceptable. That's what we do. Dana and I talked about, we fight together. We recognize that our marginalization in some ways is our connective tissue. You've taken that to this level in terms of a bus tour. I don't see anybody in the GOP community that's doing anything like this. And this bill is going to hurt their community, their constituents, their voters. Did you hear, Kristen, about there are food banks in Alabama that are panicked now because they're worried about they're about run out of money.
I mean, this is where the state of the world is before this bill passes, right? I mean, there is massive need. The cost of living for the public right now, with the tariffs and with the uncertainty that this administration has wreaked havoc, is driving the cost of living up. Couple that with folks losing health care, losing food assistance, the pressures that will be on food banks and free clinics is going to be enormous, and we will not be able to take care of everyone. I mean, that is the big role of government. It is why we pay our taxes. It is money paid off of our work. And they are willing to just give another check to the billionaire class at our collective expense. And again, I'm out on the road. It is haunting what folks are facing in their day-to-day lives when they sit at their kitchen tables at night, stressing out of what happens if their child who relies on Medicaid loses their 24/7 care. What happens to that family and that child? And the scale of this, I mean, we're talking 16 million people alone. 16 million, it's an unfathomable number, stand to lose health care. And again, I go back to, for what? To give rich people more money that they do not need, that they cannot possibly spend in their lifetime, at the expense of real people who rely on just very basic things to survive. And it's a really, I've been doing a lot of reflecting about the moment we're in, and specifically the events of this weekend with the assassination of just a working class hero in Representative Hortman, who many of our partners have worked with along the way, who did incredible policy and won major legislative won major legislative priorities just several years ago that really prioritized working families and helping people get ahead, coupled with the No King's Day. And we in this moment right now are required, and I feel this so strongly, to hold equal parts grief for what we are losing as a country and hope for what is possible. And it is a hard moment to be an organizer. It is a hard moment to be a citizen, a community participant, and that is exactly why we have to get on the road. We have to continue to drive a narrative and to drive actions that allow us to get together to say we are better than this. Our country is better than throwing 16 million people off healthcare, full stop. We don't want this. And again, it goes back to, this is not about who you voted for 8 months ago. There are folks across both parties who are getting together to say, oh, actually, we do love our neighbor. We do care about what happens in our community. And it is on us to continue to pressure them. And it's the timing of this, Richard, could not be better as the Senate is moving to advance their version of this package. We are watching, we're watching the White House say they want a bill, they want a voted on bill on the president's desk by July 4th. They are trying to shut this down. They are trying to stop the debate because they know that we do not want this. And again, I could go on and on about the level of stories that we're hearing, but the big top line is that we are really coming together in a different way, and folks on the ground are animated. They are fighting back. They are building a really strong resistance, not just for this reconciliation bill, but for what it means to show up and start taking care of each other and rebuilding a politics that is not driving a narrative of hate about, I hate this group and I hate this group, and if you're not with me, you're against me. We've got to get beyond that. And that's what our organizing is all about.
We're talking with Kristen Crowell, Executive Director of Fair Share America, and soon-to-be bus tour rock star, making it across the country. Kristen, I love the work that you're doing, and I always take pause when someone who's doing work like you are says some of the things you just said that have some emotion to them. And what let me tell you what I mean by that. Yesterday, I was fortunate and blessed to have on Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, who you may or may not know. She's an immigration attorney, and maybe I can get you two connected because she's a fighter just like you. She's rolled up sleeves, elbows deep, boots on the ground in the fight in another area that needs to be fought for, and that's immigration. Yeah. And you guys are, and I asked the question of her how she's doing, because she's dealing with clients daily. You are dealing with subject matter like this daily. And I just want to make sure, as I know our listeners do, that you're okay. And I know that you said you're inspired and excited about being out on the tour because you're going to be with so many other people who are in this fight with you. So we cannot give you enough kudos for that. And that's important. One of the things you just said about people coming together, and I think that this is where I don't know how to articulate this, so I'm just going to say what's on my mind. I think that people have to understand, and you said this irrespective of how they voted 8 months ago. What comes to mind for me is this, and this may happen to you too. It's okay for one to revisit your decision, and if it were a decision that wasn't a good decision, then do something about it. And right now, my hope is that there are enough people that can pause for a moment, irrespective of who they are, what they look like, all the other pieces of our demographic, and say, I made a mistake in this vote, not just for the White House, but for the Senate and House. And I need to do something about changing that. I'm being hopeful in that space that people can say that I need to make a change for the betterment of the country. Some people may call me crazy for thinking that way, but I do think that way. And that's what I am hoping that these types of events, your tour, among other things, can inspire people to be willing to do. And that's to test themselves to see, can I do something? Can I change? Can I admit that maybe this was a wrong decision? And then move my boat in a different direction. I mean, do you ever go there? Do you ever let your brain go there?
Absolutely. And we go there publicly. It's part of the conversation. If you look at the polling on this reconciliation package, 50% of voters that pulled the lever for Trump 8 months ago are opposed to this bill. 50% of them. And that is a big number. Fair Share in America has also been door knocking all over the country because people do deserve information. They need to know what is in this package. When you engage with folks, again, irrespective of political party, once they know the horrors that are in this bill, they are opposed. And I think as an organizer and as a movement, it is our job to create the off-ramps for folks who have been captured by the lies, the disinformation, and the rhetoric that the GOP used to ascend to power, and then they have no desire to care for those people through policy choices. It's blatantly clear. They're going to throw them under the bus like everyone else. And so as organizers, it's our job to create space to allow folks who may not have, view the world the same way we do or I do, but to be in relationship and to actually look at them as human beings. And we talked about this the last time I was here, and say it's okay. That is over. What matters is today. Are we building a different kind of politics that sees each other as humans, that will fight for each other, that will tone down the rhetoric, that will not make it about party or leaders and make it about ourselves? And again, you said, am I okay? I am more than okay. I'm emotional, but I feel like we are on the verge in this country of something very different that rejects that a politic that is the most reductive. It is to play to the 50+1. How are we going to win this election by 1 vote, 2 votes? We are set up through billions of dollars of advertising in the election cycles to really dislike each other, to distrust each other, and at some levels hate each other. Our tour is completely different. The doors are open. We know that our communities need each other to survive this reconciliation bill. There is room in our movement, irregardless of who you voted for. And there have been moments where folks have publicly stood up. It is the most powerful thing to witness, because I'm not sure I could do it, candidly speaking, to watch voters stand up and say, I did this. I voted for this man, and I believed he was going to fight for my family. And it's a bunch of lies. And I mean, I go back to one woman who said, she was crying, and she asked the group, can you please forgive me? And the group, and this was 600 people were in this room where this woman, brave woman, stood up, and the group said, we forgive you and we love you. And that is what keeps me hopeful, is that we as human beings, we are better than this. We are better than the politics that we've inherited. And we can fight, and we know it's working. We know that there are members of the GOP that do not want to go on the record, that are behind closed doors saying there are provisions of this that are unacceptable. And we're taking this to their districts, and we're going to hold them and say, hey, Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri has been outspoken about these cuts go too hard on Medicaid. Okay, Hawley, what are you going to do when push comes to shove? When the president advances this, whose side will you be on? And that's the whole point of this. We want to educate the public. We want to create safe spaces where people can come and organize together in a populist movement, and we want to hold them accountable. And we are watching, and we are waiting and demanding that they reject the White House's demand to put this bill on their desk by July 4th, and we will see. And the work will not end post this reconciliation package.
No,
not at all. We are building something very different. And so, I don't know, I'm more than okay. I can't wait to get on the bus. My suitcase isn't packed yet, so that's an issue. 2 of my kids, Richard, I have 5 kids, as you know. 2 of them will be coming on the bus, the 8-year-old and the 18-year-old, for part of the trip, because I think it's also important that we show the next generation how to respectfully engage in a political discourse and to find hope and joy as we fight. So yeah, black coffee all the way, I will be great. And
No sugar,
and
no
the energy
cream.
comes from the people, right? It does come from the spaces that we are in when we are together. Being alone at home, working from my kitchen counter, that's not how I want to spend the next month. I want to be out there with the folks and raising our voices and raising some hell together.
Well, John Lewis would be so many of the civil rights leaders that have passed would be so proud of the fact of what you just said about getting out and being amongst them. I want to take a moment just to kind of go over something for everybody that we've been talking with Kristen Crowell about the tour that's coming your way. So real quickly, I'm going to run through the cities. It's starting on the 21st in Peekskill, New York, Bedminster, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Bucks County, Pennsylvania, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Scranton, Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Columbus, Ohio, Warren, Michigan, Flint, Michigan, Lansing, Michigan, Chicago, Illinois, June 28th. So you and I
in Hyde Park.
Yep.
We will be in Hyde Park.
You and I have to connect so we
Please
can
come. I would love for you to come. Amazing.
I will. We'll make sure that happens. And that's next Thursday? No. When is the 28th? Henry, help me out here. I'm not looking at a calendar. But it's next week, late next week. Rockville, Illinois, Davenport, Iowa, Cedar Rapids, Racine, Wisconsin, Oshkosh, La Crosse, Rochester, Minnesota, Minneapolis, Kansas City, Missouri, Thornton, Colorado, just north of Denver, Pueblo, Colorado, Tucson, Arizona, Casa Grande, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, Las Vegas, Nevada, and wrapping up on July 14th in Bakersfield, California. If you want to find out if the bus tour is coming through your city, or if someone wants to find out, what's the easiest way, Kristen, for someone to be able to do that?
The easiest way is to go to bus.fairshareusa.org. Sorry, I'm losing my voice, but it's bus.fairshareusa.org.
Got it.
And there's a whole website. You can click on the link. You can register for the events. It's really cool. You can see the entire map of the country, and you can see a picture of our big green bus. Again, it's the Stop the Billionaire giveaway bus tour, and 4,000 miles, 14 states, over 30 events, and we couldn't be more excited to be out on the ground where the real fight is.
Well, Kristen, I said it before, and I know I'm going to say it again. We're so proud of what you're doing, and I'm going to send you all the good vibe and energy that you're going to need. Make sure you go out. One of the things you put in your suitcase in a Ziploc bag is some honey, because you're going to be talking a lot, and you're going to need it.
Well, you would know how to give good advice on that. I was surprised this morning, but some honey, that's amazing.
There you go. Make sure you got some with you, because you're going to need it to keep that voice strong. Kristen, thanks for being with us. And you and I are going to chat in the next day or so, because I want to make sure that I'm there when you guys arrive.
We would love that.
Absolutely.
And I will be, the beautiful thing on the bus is that I can call in anytime. I can share updates and tell you some of the really inspiring things that are happening all across the country. I do believe I will look back on my life, and this will be one of the greatest privileges, is to stand in opposition to this terrible bill with the people that it will hurt the most.
Absolutely.
And, the last thing I would say, and just remind folks, I'm just a lady. I'm just a working mom. There is really nothing. I'm an organizer by trade, but this is not, and you invoked one of my heroes, John Lewis. This is about, and John Lewis was an organizer and a regular person. This is our fight.
Yeah.
There is no one coming to save us but ourselves. And you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be a policy PhD. You don't have to, you have to just be willing to stand up and talk to 3 neighbors, 4 neighbors. We are really close to defeating this. The pressure is on. We're going to drive a big green bus across the country and make them pick a side. But really, I would just say to everyone listening at home, this is our moment. And, you don't have to think of yourself as a leader who's qualified to talk about tax and budget. You just have to be willing to stand with your neighbors. And that is what we need right now. And it's bus.fairshareusa.org. And I will be you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow Fair Share America on all the socials. But we're going to have a lot of content and some really cool stuff coming out of the bus that I think if you want to sneak peek at what goes on a big old bus and you want to see what these, I mean, I've never done this before, so it'll be fascinating, but
it'll be
follow
fascinating.
along for some hope and some joy.
You're going to do great. I promise you that. We'll definitely make sure to have you do a phone in and we'll talk about what you're doing along the way. Thanks for being with us this morning. Get some rest because you're going to be busy. I know you got a lot in front of you, and we'll talk real soon. Okay, Kristen?
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Be well. Bye now. Wow. The energy that she brings to this and what she said about just being a regular mom, a regular person that's decided to take on the fight is just so, it should be empowering. And I know that a lot of times people go, Richard, it's just me. What do I do? I don't know what to do. I don't know which direction to turn. Remember when we had Jamal Cole on and he talked about it and he just asked questions. He said, I had a vision, or I envisioned these things getting better and how I could lean in to make them happen. That's what Kristen's doing in her own way. Hugely important. And I just want you guys to be able to tap into that. So it's been great being with you today. Thanks to Dana Goldberg for a segment that we did. Thanks for all you guys with your calls and your comments about Juneteenth. Make it a safe rest of the day. Take a deep breath, guys, and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Well, June is Pride Month, and all of us who believe in freedom and equality are speaking out for LGBTQ plus rights. But did you know there's a way to raise your voice for equality every month? In fact, every day. It's your phone if you use Credo Mobile. Credo Mobile has donated over $15 million to nonprofits working for equal rights, groups like National LGBTQ Task Force, Transgender Law Center, and the ACLU. And they'll continue to do so because they don't abandon their values when the political wind shifts. They stand for LGBTQ plus people during Pride Month and every month. If you're ready to switch, it's so easy to do. Here's